And welcome back to another episode of Underdog Podcast. It's been a while, right? Bro, it's been a while. I think it's been like a month or so. Damn, I don't remember last time I did an episode. I was thinking about it earlier and I'm like, I think it's been like a month. I don't know. Summer, kids at home all the time, so kind of doesn't throw off my schedule per se, but there's a lot of things that I gotta make sure I keep them active and stuff. They've been in sports and doing great and stuff like that. So now that they're back in school, school started for my kids actually last Thursday. So they're now getting back into the swing of things, and I should be able to at least knock out a few more, a few podcast episodes every week now. A lot's been going on and stuff. My personal life, doing what I need to do. Still trying to get the house ready and stuff. Still fighting with the VA for my disability ratings. Hopefully, I can close a chapter on that book this month. Man, I was so close to going on a rant for an hour the other day. Got some, I don't want to say bad news, but frustrating news from VA. But that seems being cleared up. Not necessarily in the manner in which I was trying to clear it up, but hey, things happen the way it happens. You always gotta look at the brighter side. You gotta hope that the universe, God, whoever deity or spirituality you want to align yourself with, is on your side. And even though it's a negative thing, you can still always learn from a positive thing. In fact, we need that negative, or those negative aspects, those negative perspectives, those negative experiences in our lives to help us understand what the positives actually are. So a lot's been going on. Uh, Funny. When we talk about COVID, I'll just touch on that a little bit. I'm not gonna go too much into it because pretty much everything that's going on is what we already talked about on this podcast before. Or the whole entire course of the year, this past year, is the same thing. It's always cases, numbers, and all this other stuff. I'm sure family members and friends that you know of are like, oh, well, the Delta variant is worse. We talked about the Delta variant on this podcast months ago. So said that was going to be a thing and see how it is. And it's almost, I just want to continue to reiterate that no one actually reads the data, right? No one reads the information. People just hear things and they go along with it. And that's fine to an extent. But when we're talking about something like this that is literally affecting people's lives, you're talking about vaccine mandates, passports, all these other things. You should probably take the time to look up the information yourself and see exactly what's being said. Now, I didn't have too many websites or anything. This is just more of an episode for me to just kind of get my feet wet again and stuff and just come on here and talk about certain things. But couldn't resist but showing you guys the facts because, supposedly the data, the science, the numbers matters, right? Well, here's the numbers. This is from worldmeters.info. I use them often. You scroll down the page and stuff, you can tell let's see, their resources is from, oh man. Oh yeah, so you can see where the sources are coming from: World Health Organization, CDC, CDC, the WHO, USA. So all credible sources, correct? Santa Clara County Public Health. So you can tell where they're getting. It's all pretty much for the most part government information, or government entities are entities associated with governments for as far as your World Health Organization. Excuse me. So with that being said, we'll scroll to the top here. What we have, United States. Coronavirus cases, 36,892,215. Quick statistical math. You take the 36 million number, divide that by the approximated population of the United States, 330 million. Then you times that by 100, you come out to about 11.1%. Right? I did this previous before coming on to the podcast. So that right there alone, you have a 11% chance. 11 out of 100 times you have a chance of getting COVID-19. You have a chance of getting COVID-19. Clearly, you see the number recovered is 29,966,321. So obviously, your odds of recovering are extremely high, up in a 99 percentile rating. Because the case fatality, which would be the deaths divided by the coronavirus cases, times 100 give you that percentage, comes about 1.72%. So you have a 1 out of 100 times of dying from it. Now, some people might say, hey, people are dying faster, or it's more contagious because the the variant and all this other stuff. Once again, if it sounds kind of odd, well, let's check the numbers. Let's check the data. Notice nobody talks about flu anymore, right? We talk about it often on this show. Nobody talks about flu anymore. And I just wanted to point out how easy it is for news outlets, medias, politicians, governments, corporations. They can literally say wherever they want to because it doesn't matter, right? It's not even just about lying. They could be ignorant of the data itself. Let's be honest, some are lying, but majority are probably just saying whatever because of social peer pressure. Because you see someone like a Senator Rand Paul who's saying, oh, masks don't work, but pretty sure he's a doctor, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty sure his father's a doctor as well, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty sure I know on this podcast we did tons of episodes that showed the scientific data and all the constant researches, clinical studies, research published in medical journals over the years that has shown that masks don't work. It says on the box itself that they don't work. They're for bloodborne pathogens, right? We're talking about a virus the size of about 100 nanometers, correct? You're going to need something really fully secured and a real filtration system on a mask to hope that you can even get some of the virus from entering into your body. If viruses even happen that way, because remember, we talked about on this podcast as well, germ theory. All this stuff is still theoretical. But besides that, whether you talk about a vaccine or even drugs and treatments to treat the COVID-19 disease from the SARS-CoV-2, no one even talks about Regeneron. No one talks about, you can't even mention, man, I can't even think of the name of the pill no more. That was taught last year stuff that was cheap and affordable and stuff, and you can give it to people, and it's used as, I know it's an anti-malaria drug. I forgot what the name of it is. But anyways, you know what I'm talking about. So people won't even talk about that anymore, right? But the biggest thing I noticed lately, and I was talking about this with a family member the other day, yeah, cases going up and stuff. I was like, well, people will die anyways, right? And I'm like, what we really don't talk about is being healthy. You still don't hear anyone talk about being healthy. Exercising, getting proper sleep every night, having a routine, right? Lowering your stress level, cortisol levels. No one talks about having a good nutrition and diet. We don't talk about these things. Instead, we want modern medicine to save us as if it's the next coming of Christ. It's interesting how we can just overlook the obvious. This is what happens when you succumb to fear. That's why you cannot let fear and anxiety affect you, because it's such a strong emotion rather. It's so strong that it blocks out your logical thinking. And some people don't even, some of my own friends and family don't even realize I speak like this, because I'm at the point where I'm not trying to convince nobody anything. I'll say this on my podcast, and those who want to hear it can hear it, because I'm not here to convince nobody anything. We all can sit down and read the scientific studies. I tell you, if I do talk about it, it's because a friend or family member, they brought it up first, and then I'll speak about it. But I won't even go into great details. I won't even go into, because I don't want to get on the level in which I'm trying to argue or debate anything, because there's nothing to talk about for me. I just say, hey, the CDC website and all the government studies and websites and information that they tell you to go to as a source, if you actually look at the information, they'll tell you none of this stuff works. They'll tell you the vaccines are experimental. It says it was approved for emergency use only. Why do you think they keep one? The pandemic has been over, right? Think about it. What justifies a pandemic other than someone calling it a pandemic? That's it. That's it. It's that simple. If they say it's a pandemic, it's a pandemic. It's been over. It's been over for months. It probably never. Let's be honest. It really never started. Because if you look at the numbers, the case fatality rate never, I think, never went above 4 or 5%, maybe 10%. That's not, which is okay in the initial because it's going to get the most immune compromised people to begin with, anyways. We're talking about vaccines, yet herd immunity is a real thing, and it's been over a year, almost 2 years now, because really the virus was first known about in November 2019. We're coming up on a few months from November 2000, yeah, 2 months from being a 2 year anniversary of that. You don't think the human species has adapted? It's almost like people don't understand how the immune system actually works and how long that we've been here on this planet for millions of years. We have learned to adapt. Our bodies have evolved to handle these things. But it's almost like no one thinks about this stuff. And you don't have to be a rocket scientist. You don't have to be a doctor. Or like, oh, you're not an expert. Well, an expert is someone that has information and has applied it in real world scenarios. So when it comes to being an expert, as far as your own personal health, guess what? There's no better expert than you. It's your body, right? It's your health, right? You know when you've been sick. You know your medical history better than anyone. No one can tell you your medical history because you've literally lived through it. So who's the expert for you? You gonna listen to someone you never known, you never really met, or someone that you meet maybe once, twice a year, and then all of a sudden after about 2, 3 years, you switch up, you got a new doctor. I think the longest I had a doctor for like 2 years. I just got a new VA doctor this year. I have yet to meet this person. Now I think about it, I got an appointment next month. But it's like what are we doing here, man? And even you seeing mandates with kids and stuff in schools, whatever. And you see in Florida with DeSantis, that people don't like some people, whoever they are, they don't like that. Oh, he doesn't want the mask mandates. He said let parents decide. Oh my God, that's a shocker. You mean parents can decide what goes on with their kids as opposed to the state, the government, and some corporation? It's funny how the school boards and the districts are fighting with the state, the same people that pay their salaries. Oh, my fault. That's us, the taxpayers, right? Those of you that pay taxes, right? It's. I'm glad all this is happening, though. I'll say it again, and I'll continue to say it. I am glad all this is happening because they will continue to push and push the envelope toward. They will continue to push and push towards complete propaganda, manipulation, lies, manipulation of the data. They continue to try to get more and more control. And the more they try, the more people are forced to wake up. I hate that. I hate saying that. The more people are forced to accept the reality of the situation, that something doesn't seem right about all this. And you can see it. You can see it. There's some people that went out and got vaccines and stuff. They're saying you have to wear a mask, and all of a sudden they flip the script on you. Bam! Now you gotta wear a mask, even though the vaccine worked. But the vaccine worked. Oh, but now we got this Delta variant, so now you probably gotta get another shot. Oh, you mean like they do the flu every year? There's a new strain of influenza every year, so now you gotta get the flu vaccine every year. Majority of people don't even get the flu vaccine every year, yet they rush out to get the COVID-19 vaccine. I'm not knocking it. That's your choice for your own personal health. My thing is, I hope you made that choice based on your own personal health, not because of social peer pressure or anything like that. But for let's be honest, people have succumbed to social peer pressure, and for some it might not be that serious. Like I'm good. I'll take a vaccine because I done had other vaccines before. It's not a big deal, especially if you're older, you're 50 plus range and stuff. You're like, whatever. I can use to boost my immune system, or maybe I don't exercise the way I need to, so I need a little help and stuff, or whatever the case may be. Maybe you work in schools, or you're around kids, or whatever the case. Maybe you're at the hospital. Maybe your job has says it and requires that you get it and stuff. Hey, we all make our own choices, man. We all make our own choices. And for some, getting the vaccine might not be a big deal, and that's fine. But let's not act like what's going on isn't happening. Let's not act like this is all experimental. Let's not act like they literally sat and whipped up something in the kitchen for a few months and now they're out here giving it to everybody. Right? let's not act like you can't go get a vaccine and look at the box yourself and look at the ingredients on it. You are just have to take blind faith in that it might work, and hopefully you don't get sick from it or die from it or wherever the case may be. But that's enough on that. I'm not gonna say much more. You guys know how I feel. If you haven't, this is your first time listening to the podcast, well, first I would say, where the fuck you been at? Two, I would say, hey, go back and look at all those other episodes. I'm on episode 154. There's a lot for me. So go back and check those other episodes out, and you'll see how I feel. I mean, I'm being more more tame, rather, I should say, than I've been in the past, because to me, this is all one continuous running joke, and it's more or less like, hey, what else can I get away with? That's all they're doing. Like, what else can I get away with? Talked about before, we are going to see the ramp up in the fall. They're going to be trying to push for this, and they're like, oh no, we're not going to have lockdown. They're going to push for these things and stuff, but majority of people won't fall for it. Even if they'll sit there and say, oh, I'll do this, I'm going to do that. Yeah, okay, they could do that. They could say that for their own personal selves, and they might feel some type of way, try to have moral superiority, and like, oh, look at me, I'm doing this, I'm doing the right thing, I'm doing what the government told me and stuff, I'm being a good citizen. That's good for you, right? Me being a good citizen has nothing to do with the government at all. Me being a good citizen is really completely irrelevant, because to me, it's about, if you're a good, productive member in society, and you're a decent person, well, there you go. You're a good citizen. Bam. Woo. 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 Knocked it out of the park right there. It's not that complicated. Stop overcomplicating things. You see, when you talk about overcomplication of things, you see it happen in the sports world, right? Let's talk about that for a little bit. You see the NBA players, the United States of America team going over. They end up winning the gold medal, obviously, but they struggle in the exhibition games and stuff like that. Why? Because they don't play basketball. I was talking to a friend about this before, and I was like, look, they don't play basketball, man. They don't get back to the basics. So, like, it's hard to watch basketball now. And he was like, oh, what do you mean? Oh, he's a decade. Damn, he is 10 years younger than me now. Think about it. Huh. But, man, that makes me feel old. But he was, he was like, oh, what do you mean? What are you talking about? I was like, well, because, like, there's no defense, right? And it goes on along the lines of, don't overcomplicate things. Just because you're shooting 3-pointers from the logo, you doesn't necessarily make the game better. Actually, it doesn't make the game better, because really that's only happened because, well, nobody's playing defense on you. If people pushed up and played half-court defense in basketball in the NBA, you can't shoot from the logo. Right? Steph Curry, Dame Lillard, they can't shoot from that far out. If someone's up there playing defense on, so, even though I don't necessarily like that style of basketball, to the extent of jacking up 3-pointers, but I give respect to Curry because that's his niche. Like, let's be honest, he's been doing it since he was in college at Davidson. That's his niche. That's what he does. He knows he's not a in the paint bang him up guy. He's not necessarily a mid range. He likes to stay 20, 30 feet out away from the basket. Or he's getting close up on layups because of the 3-point shot. That's his thing. There's nothing wrong with him. But obviously, you have to make sure you surround him with other players that really bring the fundamentals of the game. They're going to rebound, they're going to play defense, stuff like that, in order for him to win. Because you can't have that type of style basketball player necessarily be the cornerstone of your team. Even though they act like he is, it goes with him, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson. There's a reason why they got drafted that way. Go back and ask Mark Jackson, right? But not everybody has to shoot that way. To be honest with you, if you go back and look at 1930, 40, 50 games, people was always shooting that far out. There's nothing new, right? It's funny because we have the digital information age that we live in. You can get on YouTube and go look this stuff. I grew up watching ESPN Classics, so I grew up watching old basketball games stuff. You can see people shooting from that far out. It's nothing new. Now, at the volume in which they're doing it, yeah, that's new. But you can see front offices are encouraging that type of style of basketball because it's entertainment, right? But really, it's not. It's entertaining from a form of social media and highlights. But if you sit and watch the game, bro, it's boring. I want to see you sit there and jack up shots from way out there. Where's the defense at? We watch sports. Real sports fans are fans of the sport game itself because of competition. We like to see human beings compete against each other in a controlled situation, right? Obviously, not necessarily we're competing against resources and stuff like that, survival of the fittest type, but in a controlled situation. So that's what we like. But because the United States of America, the NBA has been lacking fundamentals, now you're seeing when they play international games with FIBA and stuff like that, you can tell that they struggle, right? They struggle because now what happens when people are playing real defense on you? Now what happens when the game is physical now? The game is physical. I don't know why we think the game isn't physical. The game has always been physical, right? All these games of sport, soccer, obviously, football, uh, baseball to an extent, because you going home, right? You're gonna find some physicality there, but pretty much lacrosse, you definitely hockey, right? You're not gonna find that physicality in tennis. It's like there's certain sports where you're not gonna obviously find that physicality in, but basketball is a physical sport. It's a physical sport. It's a strength sport. Not necessarily all completely endurance. It's a strength sport because you're sprinting majority of the time. So, it's things like that. What we lack sometimes in the United States is the basics and fundamentals of the games when it comes to sports. And I'm gonna speak mostly about basketball because that's the number one thing I love. But you see it show up even in the WNBA or in the females, the women's Olympic team and stuff. Not necessarily struggle, but at the same time, like, hey, you gotta stick to the basics of the game. You gotta stick to the fundamentals. Not you don't need to have ISO plays or all the other pick and rolls and screens and stuff like that. Just movement. Just movement. The game of basketball started off by not even dribbling. All you do is run around and pass the ball. Dribbling just came about later on. That's why you go back and look at those old games from the 50s. They look like they were struggling dribbles because no one was really trying to dribble back then because the game started off by just passing the ball around. I would say theoretically, but in actuality, you can score a basket just by passing the ball. You don't have to dribble, right? You don't have to dribble. You can score the ball just by passing it if you have actual movement. But these things are lacking in the game. It's the basic fundamentals. And when I talk about over complex, making things more complex than what it is, when you're going all the way back shooting 3-point and stuff, you're making the game harder than what it is, right? Because if you miss that shot, now that's the shot clock. You only took about 4 or 5 seconds out of the shot clock, so you didn't make sure you got a quality shot close to the basket. Because no matter what you do in basketball, the highest percentage shot will always be right in front of the basket. It's not rocket science, bro. It's not you're not building a spaceship for NASA or nothing like that, right? You're not doing quantum physics, right? You're not developing a new quantum computer. You're not trying to figure out if time exists or not, if it's linear or whatever the case may be. You're not doing nothing that complex. You put the ball in the basket. You stop someone from putting the ball in your basket. Why are you making it harder than what it is? There's nothing wrong with shooting 3-point and stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. My thing is, you gotta get to the fundamentals and have the basics down. You have the basics down, and that's what you kind of been seeing lacking in some of. I'm not gonna say all, but obviously I'm talking from a basketball perspective. But you can see it kind of leak over even in football and stuff. Sometimes people get a little too fancy and stuff like that because at the end of the day, it's a business. It's entertainment. So I can't even knock the NBA for pushing that type of style of basketball because, well, you're getting money. You're getting the TV contract. Players, you're getting more notice on social media. But pay attention to how offensive players get the huge contracts, not necessarily defensive players. Which is interesting because guess what? In basketball, everyone plays offense and defense. It's one of the few sports where you literally, every position has to play offense and defense. Right? There's no specific definitive position like in a hockey or soccer or football. In basketball, you literally have to play offense and defense. Period. There's no goalie. Everybody's a goalie. Everybody's job is to prevent the ball from going into their basket. So you hear things say like two-way players and stuff like that, but it's like, oh, he's a good two-way player. That's no such thing. He's a good basketball player. So my favorite basketball players, they always gotta play defense. And that's what, so when I bring up things like Steph Curry, what always bothers me is lack of defense. But he's gotten better over the years. I give him credit for that and stuff. You see entertainment. We talk about that real quick. I don't even watch TV no more. One of my friends tried to get me to watch the show You Netflix. I haven't looked at it yet, and I don't want to. I thought it was a hard time. Like I don't know, look like that's not my type of show. But I might check it out just because he was asking me about it. If anything, I think I want to just check it out just so I could be like, yeah, I watched it and I didn't like the shit. So I could so I could say without a doubt that I didn't like it. But I really don't watch TV. I watch YouTube. Uh, I probably need to get the Guy Network back so I can watch more of those shows and stuff like that, with those documentaries. But man, sometimes when I get on there, I get a little too consumed with it and get wrapped up with too much information. And so I have to pace myself. So I know I'll be getting it back soon. I still got Netflix. My daughter watches shows on Netflix, Amazon Prime. Well, I have Prime obviously for shipping and stuff like that from Amazon. So I watch their stuff, which actually Amazon been having some good movies out because these independent movies are better than Hollywood, which I think we always knew that was the case because Hollywood and these major cable networkers and yeah, these major media network shows, they suck. Right? And I'm not even just talking about their social agendas or political messages because that doesn't bother me. You can throw, if you want to throw something in about transgenders or strong female characters or, stuff about race, I don't have a problem with that. I don't think no one actually has a problem with that. But at the end of the day, it's entertainment. Don't try to keep your propaganda subliminal like you've been doing in the past, right? We always been getting subliminal messaging and all these things. Your predictive program, keep all that stuff at a minimum, man, or subliminal at best. I don't need you to shove it down my face, right? Don't shove it down my face. I want to talk about Suicide Squad, but I'm gonna do a whole separate episode about that. But man, there was a lot of hidden messages in that movie, and some of the things were subtle, like the whole thing about kids. Everybody freaked out when certain things were done to kids and kids and kids, and they kept saying, "Hey, no one should mess with kids." I'm like, I think James Gunn is sending a message to somebody in Hollywood caught on that. But if you know, you know. If you don't know, you wouldn't know that. So, but my thing is, even with Suicide Squad, it wasn't that good. Like it's a okay, decent movie, but that's what it should be because it doesn't have what I want to say the repertoire, the rapport. Some of the characters in the movie. Not many people will know who they are from the comics and stuff like that, which is fine. And you don't have to go into details in their origins. You don't have to do too much changing because guess what? It's a comic book movie based on comics, so I expect some comical shit to happen, right? You got a shark walking around putting on shorts and stuff and trying to talk. Like I'm okay with that. I don't know necessarily King Shark is like that from the comics, but I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. Like even if you don't stay true to the comics, that's fine. Just make it make sense to an extent. Don't go way off from the comics now. But at the same time, like these movies are supposed to be enjoyable and fun to watch. Like I don't need it to be that realistic or serious because some things you can't be that realistic about. My thing is just make it funny, man. Make it funny, make it enjoyable to watch. And they had a lot, there's plot holes and there's other things in the movie, but for the most part, it was a fun, enjoyable movie, which I was shocked. Because nowadays, if it's okay and average, it seems great. Like we got judges on an inflated scale. They're like, whoa, 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 these ain't great movies, but it's fun and enjoyable. There's nothing wrong with that. But I mean, like the same thing with Fast Nine. Like you got what you expected out of it. It wasn't a great movie, but you got what you expected out of it because that's all you can expect. I know it's gonna be a horrible, a basic movie with some action scenes and stuff like that. Maybe some funny one-liners here and there. Acting won't be that great, but hey, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. So like some of these stuff that's been coming out on TV and in the movies, it's just not good, man. It's just not good. Like I said, I've been watching movies on Amazon that's been independent film and stuff. Movies from that's been made in other parts of the world that are in English and obviously are showing some of that American style type of stuff and things that go on in America and American government and stuff like that. And that's fine as well too. But it's like, how hard is it to write these movies, man? Like, where's the passion at? And that's what you're missing out on a lot of these entertainment, even the music industry. Where's the passion at? Are you making things? That goes to all facets of the industry. As far as entertainment, it goes to sports as well. Like, are you making things because that's what you love to do and you have an enjoyment and you have a passion for it? Or are you making it for a paycheck? And you can tell a lot of stuff is making for a paycheck. Or they're trying to signal to each other, oh, look what I did. You hear about young Ripper 5'9". He was talking about where he's like, hey, some they're vanity projects. Like they'll write movies just to be like, oh, look what I did. Uh, the backlash that came with He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, the new one on Netflix, and you have Kevin Smith who's like, oh, look at me, look what I made and stuff, ha ha ha, and he's like, oh, and this little podcast thing that he did where he was talking about, oh, the fans don't mean nothing because Netflix is like, oh, we got all these million subscribers, so don't worry about a few small percentage of fans getting mad. And it's like, no, it's not a few small percentage of the fans getting mad. Those vocal fans are the ones that are extremely pissed off. There's more behind that, right? Right? I didn't bother to watch it because I had a feeling. When I seen the trailer, I was like, you know what? This looks like it would be decent, but I wouldn't be surprised if it got me for the okie doke. And other was it Yellow Flash? I think it was Yellow Flash. No, Clownfish. I think Yellow Flash. She was talking about it. Other people on YouTube was talking about it as well. Or other content creators. And even the average, we all knew, it was coming because we see it happen to all the things that we like and enjoy, like Mortal Kombat and stuff like that. Where it's like, they're gonna sit there and take something and completely fuck it all up. But let's be honest with it, they're gonna fuck it all up, man. And it's intentional because they don't care about fans. They don't care. Kevin Smith claimed to be a He-Man fan, even though there's video evidence and digital documentation or posts on Twitter and stuff like that, and things put in articles where he said he wasn't a fan of He-Man. So if you're not a fan of He-Man, why are you making a show about He-Man? Because they don't care. And Netflix is allowing themselves to be succumb to the Hollywood thing too as well. Netflix was better when they were doing their own thing. Go back to being independent and doing your own thing. Don't try to be sucked into Hollywood and going along with these things. I think Kevin Smith is doing a Clerks 3, which is, and I like, man, Clerks, the original Clerks movie is like one of my all-time favorite movies. Like I literally would watch that all the time. Ever since I was a kid, I just sit there. Till this day, I still sit there and I'll watch it. I'll fall asleep watching it. And I'll fall asleep watching it over and over and over every night. I love the original Clerks movie. Clerks 2 is all right. So I can only imagine what Clerks 3 would be like. Dog shit. Oh man. Oh man. It's just like what? Now I come to realize too, like, you know what? Forget it. Turn it off. Do something else. I read a lot. I watch YouTube because regular people have more passion for what they're creating than, people in Hollywood. People on these major networks or wherever the case may be, these huge corporations that they're associated with. I don't watch NBA basketball because it's not that good. It's not that good. I still follow it though. I still follow the stats and things like that. But I focus more on MMA, UFC. I watch UFC every week. I buy the pay-per-views every month because that's quality. That's entertainment. That's something as a sports person myself, as an athlete, where I enjoy those type of things. Real competition, real strategy, real adversity, right? People overcoming that. That's authentic. Yes, even in the UFC where we know their ranking system means nothing, they kind of pick fights, but they're honest with, hey, they're trying to have entertainment. Certain fights though, yes, he favors certain fighters, so that you can have a lot of criticism of Dana White, but hey, he got the sport to where a level that we didn't expect it was gonna be at. Let's be honest. But there's so many things, like even with video games, man. Let's talk about that real quick. Video games ain't shit. Madden sucks. I play MLB the show. It was okay. I'm not big on baseball, but I got into it. It just did multiplayer. It's pretty decent. Like I said, I'm not big on baseball though. FIFA. I love playing FIFA. I don't even touch that no more. And I have EA Play, even for free. I still won't play it. That's how bad it is. Because there's so much cheating online in FIFA. I can't play multiplayer. Every time I start to score with someone, all of a sudden I start lagging. Lag switch or lag glitches, whatever you want to call it. I'm like, come on, man. Stop people from cheating, man. That was a big thing. I'm sure it probably still is a big thing, man. You all of a sudden you start blowing someone out, and next thing you know, oh, lost connection. All of a sudden the game don't count. NBA 2K, I'm not buying it this year. I'm not buying it because these people are so disrespectful. They don't even have a demo. How you not gonna have a demo, man? Damn near every game comes out with a beta or at least some type of demo or early trial access, where they want to call it. Something before you buy it, right? Give me something. Even Madden has that. Madden is trash. Madden is beyond trash. Madden is just so horrible. Here, NBA 2K, really one of the better sports franchise games, which is really ain't saying that much, to be honest with you. But even them, it's like, what are y'all doing, man? What are y'all doing? I'm not playing this no more. I'm not playing this. I sit there and move the stick around. Sometimes, it goes so slow. There's such a delay. The animations depend on everything. Time layups. You try to do time layups, doesn't matter because you time it perfectly, and it seems like it'll be late or super early. Like it's all messed up, man. They act like they can't fix their servers. I shouldn't have to feel so. There's a difference between natural movement and actually just uh trying to simulate natural movement by having your character move slow, right? And that's what NBA 2K always felt like to me, where they try to simulate natural movement, but really just slow. I always like the feel NBA Live a little bit better, but even that was still a little too much at times. And these are legit criticism. So they want to fix their games. They know what to do, but why fix the game when they make tons of money? And that's what it comes down to. All this is business. So why do I worry about the product that I'm giving when I can just give a half-assed product and still make billions of dollars? If I don't have to put that much effort into something and still make billions of dollars, well, guess what you're gonna do? You're not gonna put that much effort into something to make billions of dollars. Until people say, enough is enough. I'm not watching this. You see with the NBA ratings tanking over the past few years. NFL ratings going down too. So they're gonna have to do some changes. You see NBA all of a sudden now they're trying to do officiating changes, not allowing the flopping calls and trying to draw fouls on natural movements. Well, no shit. You guys allowing that to happen. So Harden, and even Trae Young does it. I like Trae Young, but he does it trying to, stack up their points in the stack sheet by going to the free throw line a bunch of times. It's not basketball, man. When you grew up playing basketball and you learn the fundamentals, what are you supposed to do? Regardless of the contact, regardless of the referee, you're supposed to finish strong. No matter what. No matter what. Let the ref do his job, his or her job. Let your coach do his or her job. Plain and simple. You, the player, you don't focus on that. You focus on trying to make the basket, trying to help your teammates out, doing what it is you need to do to win. It's something I tell my son all the time and my daughter. But it's so interesting how we had gotten to this point, right? And it's on us, the individual, for us to sit back and allow this. We have the power because we are the majority. We will always be the majority. We are the majority and you, the individual, is minority. There's nothing bigger, there's nothing smaller than you, the individual. There's nothing bigger than us, the species, us, the society, us, the population. We outnumber the government, clearly. We outnumber these corporations, clearly. And no matter what minority group you want to align with, guess what? You, the individual, is the most minute minority there is. So when people try to protect individual rights, you're protecting the smallest minority group there is. Like I said, man, don't make this stuff more complicated than what it is. Right? We have this thing called life. And we live life through the perspective of the human species. Right? You are a human being. I know you might have your little statistical categories or races and all the other stuff you guys make up. That's cool. That's cool. I mean, everybody likes to be a part of a club, which I don't understand necessarily, but hey, whatever. But understand that you're just making stuff up. Because at the end of the day, it's survival of the species. And how does the species evolve? And how do we grow? That's what it comes down to. So when we talk about entertainment and the sports and music and all these other different things and politics in the world, you got the infrastructure bill that was recently passed. Imagine $3 trillion or something like that for new infrastructures. That's kind of vague, ain't it? I seen an article talking about roads, bridges, things like that. It's funny because doesn't that come down to your city, your county, your state? Then your sales tax help pay towards that. Then your tax on water, water waste, tax on electricity. Then all those taxes help go towards that. I thought so. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I mean, you pay a lot of taxes. The least all these institutions and these organizations and governments and corporations can do is tell you where your money goes when it, as far as taxes being paid. And maybe that's too much to ask for. I mean, all this technology, you can trap Bitcoin anywhere in the world, right? But you can't tell me where my money goes when I pay taxes. Whatever, whatever. And don't say it's complex because those things are not. So you have this stuff going on in the infrastructure bill, which I know majority of your congressmen and senators did not read. Your president, he definitely ain't read it. I mean, he can't keep it. Let's be honest. This man has early stages of dementia, so it is what it is. Obama probably read it. Then again, he probably wrote most of it or whatever, or he instituted most or influenced a lot of it. And you have all these things going in these bills and stuff, but nobody really reads them, right? Nobody really reads them. You didn't read them. And it's funny because they voted on it, yet it affects us, the American citizens. How come we're not allowed to vote on bills? And we're in such a democracy, yet we're not allowed to vote on legislation, but we're allowed to elect people that will vote on legislation for us. But they didn't necessarily ask us what we wanted. Did you get asked what you wanted in that infrastructure bill? I mean, if this is really a democracy and they really care about us, the voter, and our own personal opinion, how come more surveys ain't done? Even though you read an article, they'll be like, oh, look, a survey says, and you have to stop and think, like, hey, who the fuck did this survey? Like, have you been a part of the survey? Like, literally, as someone coming to you, have been a part of the survey. Why don't they send out an email to you saying, hey, do you want to do this survey and see what you want in the infrastructure bill? Based on maybe just a list, at least a list of options, right? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, something like that. Can I get a multiple choice question? Something, anything. But no, that's not the case. This is not being happen. This is not happening. Why is that? So, like I said, I'm glad all this is happening in the world, particularly in the United States. Try to keep that in perspective, because other parts of the world are protesting, right? Australia, they're like, man, we ain't finna do these lockdowns no more, man. I think Germany, parts of France, maybe too, other parts around the world, like, nah, we're not doing this, man. We did what y'all said to do, and yet it's still not enough. When you think about it, the dynamic relationship between citizens and the government is really an abusive relationship, because they ask, and they want so much from the citizens, and when the citizens give in and do what the government says, it's never enough, and it never will be enough. That's why I'm glad all this is happening, because I want people to realize that it will never be enough for the government. They will just keep saying and doing more and more things. It's like an abusive relationship. And until we decide to stop, pay attention to what's going on, look at the details, right? What's that phrase? The devil's in the details. That's what it is. That's what it is. Because when you look at the details of things and you pay attention, you realize there's a lot of shady stuff going on. But we gotta pay attention to what's going on in the world, and not overcomplicate things, and stop saying, "Oh, well, oh, you're not a doctor, or you're not a lawyer, or you're not a basketball player, you're not a gymnast." The other thing too in the Olympics, which apparently the Olympics just came and went, nobody cared. Nobody cared. I love the Olympics. I couldn't watch it. I couldn't watch it. I was watching rowing on the first days once the Olympics started, and I got excited. And then next thing you know, my mom came over. She was talking to me about something, and then I seen on the TV that it was the USA women's team playing against the Sweden's team playing, and that was a game that the women had lost. The USA women's team had lost, and I like the USA women's team. Regardless of politics and social agenda message, I still like them from a sports perspective because that's what matters to me. But seeing them play in an empty stadium at the Olympics, nah, I don't need that type of shit in my memory. I don't need that. That's so weird, man. That's so weird. I was one of those people that had some had well, strong criticism of Simone Biles. Right. Even after it came out where it said that her aunt had died and stuff like that, and she was dealing with that as well, but yet she still did the beams or whatever, even though her aunt had died 2 days before, but whatever. But my criticism was not necessarily of her specifically, but I mean, if you take it that way, then I'm not. I'm gonna say whatever I want to say, and that's what's wrong in this world too. Just because someone says something that you don't like or agree with, that's okay. It's not that big a deal. We can all rave and rant at each other on the internet and stuff like that, but as long as we keep it a verbal match and we don't necessarily degrade each other, then that's fine. Even if we do degrade each other, you can call me all types of names you want to. What is it? Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Well, because if words hurt you, you allow it to hurt you. Right? You throw a rock at my head, there's not much I can do about it. It's gonna hurt because it's a physical interaction, right? But I can have some leeway or I can have some control on how I feel emotionally about what you said to me, right? You can call me all the racial slurs you want to, but it's up to me to determine how I will react emotionally to it. That's just being honest. And my criticism of her was, you talk about mental health and oh, we're athletes, we're still human beings, and it's like, pretty sure we know that. That's why y'all get paid millions of dollars. That's why you got an endorsement and things like that. Like, we clearly favor our people that entertain us in society, right? Because there's no reason why someone that's doing an athletic sport competition should be getting paid millions of dollars outside of a entertainment value. There's no reason for it. They literally contribute nothing to society other than entertainment. So that lets you know that we as a society value people that entertain us. And that's okay too. Because that goes along with business. Because NBA franchise or NFL franchise, whatever, in a city can generate a lot of revenue and employ people. So that goes along with economics. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. The thing is, you got to put into context sometimes when these athletes are complaining about things because it's almost as if they forget who they're talking to, right? People battle mental illness every day, right? Like our society is pretty much based in around mental illness because of all the things that we deal with. The way you think depression is on the rise, especially last year. Especially last year, suicide rate rose. But you won't hear nobody talk about suicide rate going up. People are dying faster. Well, they also kill themselves more. That should probably be the real pandemic. Hey, why do people kill themselves? Right? We should probably focus on that because that's self-inflicted to the most ultimate extent. So we should focus on that. But when you hear her talk about mental illness or mental awareness and taking care of her mental state and stuff like that, that's part of being a professional athlete. That's something I tell my son all the time. Like, hey, you want to be a professional athlete? Well, you need to be mentally tough. You got to be mentally tough. You got to be physically tough, spiritually tough. But guess what? You have to do that and be that way in all aspects of life. So it's not even, this is not like an exclusive thing that's only for athletes or professional athletes in the limelight, in the spotlight. You have to be mentally tough because, what happens when you go to work and you lose your job? And not because of your work ethic, not because your criteria, not because of anything you've done, but just because, hey, there's some cutbacks and from a business standpoint, it makes sense for them to cut your job as opposed to cutting the job of someone else. Right? It happens in the military. Even a place that so-called has a guaranteed job, it still happens. So what happens then? How do you be mentally tough when now all of a sudden you're trying to figure out how to feed yourself and your family members? I don't know what is more mentally tough and stressful than that situation. So it's not just about what these athletes are saying. It's about they have to put into context and remember who they're talking to when they say these things. Because you're talking to people that have been dealing with a lot of stuff. So, they're going to react some type of way when you're complaining about something. It's like, we get what you're saying. Just because I can have empathy and I can sympathize with you doesn't mean that I still can't have some criticism towards, or at least an opinion about what you're doing. And it's like, oh, everybody got something to say. Well, of course, everybody got something to say. You put your stuff out there in public forum, people are going to have something to say that goes along with it. I've been attacked and stuff on social media. I did episodes on a podcast about this. And I'll be honest with you, even when I said it, I'm like, man, I thought I was going to feel bad about this. I just laughed because it's like, ha ha ha, these people have no idea who you are. They're just saying something. Hell, you don't even know these people even exist. Let's be honest. Like, I gotta stop saying let's be honest. I'm saying it too much. But yeah, it's just it's the reality of the situation. My criticism of her was that, and really of the mainstream narrative, or the mainstream media and their narrative, like, oh, look, she going through so much with this and so much with that, and blah blah blah. And it's like, whoa, man, we're all going through things. We don't need to. We're not trying to sit here and compare things and stuff. But she made a choice. So you can have empathy with someone, and you can sympathize. You can have empathy over a situation. You can sympathize with someone personally, but doesn't mean you still can't hold them accountable for the choices that they make. That's something that they teach us. They taught in the military, basic training. I'm pretty sure through all branches of the military. Be accountable for your actions. You know what you did. She knew that she went to the Olympics. She didn't have to go. She chose to go. And so I'm doing a lot of this stuff and things like that. And I was talking to someone, and I was like, well, she's away from family, and her family not being there might have been an issue too. You made that choice. You made that choice. My parents held me accountable for everything I have done and did in my life growing up. They still hold me accountable. Guess what? I got to hold myself accountable. Hey, I know a choice I made, right? Oftentimes I talk about medical issues stuff. I was talking about, my personal life dealing with the VA and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I got to hold myself accountable. I knew what I signed up for. I knew what the possibility was going to happen to me and my body and my mental state. I knew all this stuff. So am I trying to hold the VA accountable for what they're supposed to do? Of course. But I also hold myself accountable for putting myself in this position. Right? That's why I take so much, I have so much emphasis and such a focus on my mental health, on my emotional health, on my spiritual health, my physical health. That's why I pay attention to those things. Because I'm holding myself accountable. That's what it's about. If someone won't hold you accountable, that's okay. You don't need them to. You hold yourself accountable. So that was my criticism of that mainstream media narrative when they're talking about Simone Biles. It's like, wait a minute. Get what she's saying. Empathy, sympathize, all that stuff. But you know what choice you made. You didn't have to go to the Olympics. You didn't have to go. You could have pulled out. You could have let someone else take your spot. Someone that was in a better mental state. There's nothing wrong with that. And if someone knocks her for that, well, then they knock her for that. That's it. You go on about your life. Because now, nobody cares about the gymnastics for the most part anyway. Right? It is what it is. Every other 4 years, that's when we care about it. And I like watching floor gymnastics and stuff like that, but I didn't watch none of that because, once again, it was weird to see no crowd being there. So Olympics came and went. I didn't even hear nothing really about increasing cases and stuff like that. One last thing I want to touch on. All these are distractions because, like I've been talking about in the past previous episodes, the past few months, they're changing our financial system around. And every day, every week, every month, it gets more and more blaring that this ain't no, speculative thing. Like, it's legit fact. Digital euro, digital won, digital yen, right? Digital dollar. I'm missing one. I know I'm missing one. But those are your main basket of currencies that are going to be with the excuse me, they'll be with their almost with the IMF rather. So as we worry about the infrastructure bill or what's being taught in schools, or your critical race theory, it's funny. I don't even know why we even pay that any attention. I mean, the name itself lets you know what it is. Critical race theory. It's a theory. You know what a theory is? Somebody just had an idea about something and they might have, I don't know, slight facts about it. A lot of the stuff that we do and talk about in the medical, or it's not medical, in the scientific or historic community, whatever, it's all theoretical. Science itself, it's technically theoretical, anyways. You have evidence and facts to help prove as much as possible, but how many things are absolute truths, right? So all this is going on, yet they're changing the whole financial system around. You got exchanges getting cracked down. Binance is gone, right? Binance is gone. They allow Binance to happen for so long, just so they can come through and just either get them with a bunch of fines or take them down and take their assets. I learned this when I was applying for OSI in the Air Force. Fraud cases are one of the big things that government institutions love and enjoy because that's where they can get their money from. That increases their budget. You don't have to worry about taxpaying dollars. If I let Bitcoin rise up to a certain level and I come in and take it up, take down the infrastructure or take down a network rather that's using Bitcoin, and I'll say, oh, it's illegal activities and stuff like that. Bam, now I got $1 billion. And all I did was sit back and let them build up themselves. It's a game, man. It's a game being played. Right? They're sitting there manipulating markets, manipulating commodity markets, your gold, your oil, your silver, your precious metals, stuff like that. Stock market is being manipulated. Crypto market don't even. Crypto market is like so manipulated. It's not even funny, man. Like none of it makes sense. It's so manipulated, and people will try to stick to the charts stuff, saying it makes sense, but it's like it's all manipulated. So the charts almost doesn't mean nothing. Now you've seen a rise in prices because of the infrastructure bill and stuff like that, because some of the crypto regulations were thrown in there, which is interesting because SEC versus Ripple is still ongoing. And if you've been following any of that, well, let me just fill you in. Obviously, you can check out my previous podcast episodes as well. But let me fill you in on that. SEC ain't shit, and this case has been over with. We're just waiting for the official settlement because SEC, they don't even have a case against Ripple. Because if they have a case against Ripple, then what about Ethereum? Digital asset investor on YouTube, check him out. He's also on Twitter. He talks about, he did a lot of stuff. Other people as well have did tons of research and showing you how much of ICO and how much of a security Ether is to the Ethereum Foundation. Ether is a token, right? XRP is part of XRP Ledger. Ripple is a company. XRP Ledger was created before Ripple, right? Ripple wasn't even Ripple, it was OpenCoin. So all these things are happening in the background, behind the scenes, and it's like maybe now people are starting to realize. But what they always say, by the time you realize it, it's too late. If you're already reading this, it's too late. That's what it comes down to. You can still get in, get your XRP and stuff, get your Uphold has it. Uphold has it. I don't even know who else has it in the United States, but the rest of the world has been using XRP. Japan's definitely been using XRP, which is interesting because it's like people forget that XRP is a global thing. Even though United States and Federal Reserve, you kind of want to see where they're gonna go and do and stuff, and they'll have influences on the world as a whole, as far as the financial markets and economy and finances. Rather, the banking system is what I really should say. That's what's being changed. Your banking system, your money, as they try to slowly get everybody into universal basic income and all these other different things. We're in a very interesting time in our human species. Very exciting. Because so much is going on, positive, negative, and neutral. A lot of things are going on that I hope a lot of you guys are paying attention to. And seeing that a lot of the stuff is for show. And a lot of the stuff doesn't matter. Doesn't make sense. You see how much government doesn't matter? They tell you to recommend masks and mandates and all this other stuff. Yet you see people are like, ah, no, we're not gonna do it, and nothing happens because it can't do nothing to you. It can't do nothing to you. We can only do stuff to ourselves. Your cops, your citizens on patrol, your police officers, your policy enforcers. That's what they are by legal definition. I'm just saying. Police, policy. You hear them call law enforcement, but you don't necessarily see it on the vehicle say law enforcement sometimes, depending on where you're at and what city or county where you're incorporated and stuff like that. But it's they will be the ones to enforce these kind of regulations and laws, whatever you want to call them. So we do it to ourselves. Like that's all they need us to hold each other accountable, but not in the sense of holding each other accountable for our own individual choices. Like, hey, if you want to take a vaccine, go ahead and take it. There's nothing wrong with it. I might not agree with it. I might not. I definitely don't agree with it. But if you want to take it, hey, who am I? You have your own personal medical history. That's not my business, right? If you want to wear a mask, go ahead and wear it. I don't agree with it. If it makes you feel bad, go ahead and do it. But if I won't sit here and try to force you to not wear a mask and not take a vaccine, why would you sit here and try to force me to do the opposite? I'm holding myself accountable for my own decisions that I make. You hold yourself accountable for your own health decisions that you make. And don't be like, oh, well, because I got this, you're transmitting this, and because of this and that. Well, you see the vaccinated population is still able to transmit the virus, which I don't know why that's a shock. It's not like we don't have precedence over this. I mean, look at the flu vaccine. You get the flu vaccine, guess what happened? You get sick. It's not a coincidence. It's what happens, right? You get sick. And guess what? You can still spread it to other people. Right? All right, better yet. Once again, hold yourself accountable. You take care of your immune system. I take care of my immune system. Then we don't have to worry about pretty much anything because I'm not focused on you. I'm too busy focused on myself and what I need to do for my own personal health. And I hope that you do the same for yours. Yeah, that's a lot to go through, right? It's the same stuff I've been saying, but yet it's starting to come to fruition where we're seeing how much all this stuff is affecting the world, and people need to sit down and really take a deep breath and pay attention to the details. Pay attention to what's actually going on and ask themselves the hard questions. Like, hey, does any of this actually make sense? And once you get over your own ego and realize that you've been lied, duped, bamboozled, manipulated, wherever you want to say, then you'll start to see that, hey, a lot of this stuff doesn't actually make sense. And then you start to question, why was I even listening to any of this to begin with? You know how to do math. Look at the data, look at the numbers, and do the statistical probabilities. You'll figure it out. It's not that hard, right? You know about biology, viruses. You went to school, right? You understand the basics, so use that basic knowledge and ask yourself some simple questions. How small is a virus? What actual protection can we have from a virus? Have we ever had any real protection from a virus before? You telling me it took them all the way till 2020? The United States of America to all of a sudden say, oh yeah, masks work. Even though we don't have the SARS pandemic back in 2002, even though we had H1N1, swine flu, all these other things, all the other epidemics and outbreaks all the time and stuff. Yet now all of a sudden they say, oh, masks work. But like I said, if that's the choice you want to make for yourself, I'm not going to, I can't do nothing about it. Like, I might disagree with you. And I might say, hey, logically speaking and scientifically speaking, it doesn't make sense. But if you want to do it, go ahead and do it. Don't stop me because I choose not to do it. We gotta take a hard look at ourselves individually and as a species as a whole, not just in a certain specific area of the world, but really look at what is going on with all of us. What is going on in the human species? And I want to say one more thing before I get off. I'm trying to keep this short, under at least, well, I guess under 90 minutes now. Kids. Kids. Kids are the generation. One of the most precious things that we can look after on this planet are the children, because they will be the ones that determine the future of the species. Yet, this past year, particularly in the United States, I try to keep on that perspective because this is where I reside at. Kids have been ignored. We're trying to give them shots. We're trying to put masks on them. We're trying to recreate and rewrite history on them. We're trying to tell them to do this and influence them to do that. Leave the kids alone. Let kids be kids. Let them explore some of the things on their own. And when I say explore, I mean literal, on their own, not influence, because you want to put your child or your so-called son or wherever in a dress, and it's like he could be wherever you want to be, that you're still influencing them. You're still influencing them. Right? And they come to you and tell you, hey, am I supposed to do this? Do I do this? You say, hey, you know what? We'll talk more about it and we'll figure it out. But these are decisions that you shouldn't be focused on because you're still a child. You need to understand the world better. You need to educate yourself more so you can make an informed decision based on your life. And if your child chooses to want to do that as they get older, they do that. But I guess people will flip it around the other way. Well, why are you telling your son that he can't wear a dress? Well, because logic dictates. It's not even logic dictate. It's dresses are made for girls to fit a girl's body. But hey, that's how I am in my household. I talk to my kids and stuff, wherever, and you determine what he wants to do as an adult. You can't drive a car until you're 16. You can't vote until you're 18. You can't join the military until you're 18. You can't drink until you're 21. Yet we're talking about making sexual orientation and all the other decisions when we're younger. To each their own, though. To each their own. If you want to do that with your child, whatever. That's fine. That's fine. I shouldn't even say influence. That's the wrong word to use because it's parenting. But it's a thin line when you're being a parent. How much are you trying to be open, at the same time trying not to influence? But that's to each their own and their own parenting style and how they be and stuff. But my thing is, we're so wrapped up and consumed on all the things that really don't matter. So like I said, we focus on the children, making sure that they are educated, making sure they have a real education and understanding of the world, making sure they know that a lot of the stuff that we talk about in history and science is not 100% factual, that the majority of these things are up for the debate. When I say majority, probably like 95% of these things that we talk about are always up to debate, and that debate and having different opinions and different perspectives and views is healthy. We're supposed to. That's how we evolve as a species. We have to focus on the kids and then let kids be kids. Let them go up and down. Let them experience things. Let them have negative experiences. Let them have positive experiences. Let them, be there and talk to them and help them out and stuff. Stop trying to push propaganda messages on them and stuff or things like that. Like, man, we gotta do better as a species, man. That's flat out. We just gotta do better as a species. Hope is irrational, but somehow I still hope. I have hope for humanity, which is wild because majority of the time, like, God damn it, I don't see no hope for humanity. Because every time I have hope, I get let down. And this past year, I've been let down a lot for humanity, as far as my hope for humanity. But I still have hope. I still have hope. Because through the darkest tunnel, only then can you see the light. Because it's hard to see light when you're sitting in the full brightness of the sun. Sometimes you gotta be in the darkness to realize, hey, there is light there. And you also have to realize the darkness and the light goes together. Polar opposites, but we need both. And in the middle is where we need to be at. That's where we find balance. That's where we center ourselves. That's how we get better as a species. That's how we evolve. So hopefully I'll be back on tomorrow with another episode. What's today? Today's Wednesday. So yeah, I should be back on tomorrow with another episode. And I should be back on Friday. I don't know if I'll do Monday through Friday, but I want to at least be able to have 2 to 3 episodes a week. I got a lot of stuff going on. Not a lot. I will have stuff going on the next few months, things in my personal life and stuff like that. That shouldn't take up too much of my time. I mean, I got nothing but time, right? Retired, so I got nothing but time, but I still should be able to knock out at least 30 minutes to an hour podcast. Just maybe not go so much into details about everything and stuff, or go too much into depth. Definitely gotta stay away from ranting. That's why I get myself in trouble at anyways. But yeah, I still want to be able to share some information and share my opinion without dragging it on. So definitely, if you guys haven't obviously, yeah, I haven't had to put up a podcast in a while, but I didn't stop tweeting out information. I haven't been on Gab as much. Sometimes Gab get on my nerves, to be honest with you. Uh, it's all political stuff, and it's like, okay, I don't want to always be completely political and stuff. Like, I don't even like politics and governance and stuff like that. You govern yourself, or you follow your deity or whatever being, wherever you want to go with. I'm not trying to follow another human being to tell me I should live my life. That's me personally. But I'm on Twitter, financial news, that's why. So I'm constantly sharing things like that. And check out my blog site, Damien, Damin, Jackson22.com. I've been uploading articles and sharing my opinions on certain things, and I've still been posting on that constantly. So definitely check that out. Because when in doubt, if you follow me there, I will always be posting something. I've been doing that since like 2015. Damn, I just realized I've been doing that a long time. It was 2015 or 2016, somewhere around there. But yeah, I've been posting on that a long time. So probably more consistent with that than anything. But definitely check me out there and stuff, and upload the links to. I'll upload this podcast as always on YouTube and Odyssey. Check out the podcast on Podbean, Spotify, Apple, wherever else I'm at. So until next time.